In June of 2016, my husband and I visited Hawaii. This was our second visit to the Hawaiian Islands together. We had previously been to Maui. This time we were going to Oahu and Kaua'i. Part of my intent was to locate as many Jurassic Park and Jurassic World filming locations as possible. Now, the Jurassic films that we all know, love, and cherish were largely filmed in the Hawaiian Islands. So I wanted to document and see how many filming locations we could find. Could we access them? What did they look like now compared to 1992 or whenever each given film was filmed? And, what would that be like? Now, that was 5 years ago. I always intended to make a video about that adventure because it was an amazing, as a Jurassic Park fan, an amazing adventure. And it's Jurassic June, better late than never. So in this video, I'm going to show you what it's like to visit Jurassic Park. Beautiful, stunning, scenic Kualoa Ranch is a world-famous filming location site. Most famous, of course, for the Jurassic World films. But before then, in the 1940s, it was a military base during World War II by the U.S. Army. And previous to that, it was a very sacred land for Native Hawaiians for generations and generations. So it wasn't until decades later that it became the filming location site that we all know about. So the first thing we did upon arriving at Kualoa was secure our badges for the premier movie sites tour, which is basically the top tour that they offer. And we got into this really nice van. It was just my husband and I and one other Jurassic fan, Julian Collado, who you can follow on Instagram, who is a sculptor and just some really amazing Jurassic stuff. So we got into our van and were treated with some delightfully enjoyable treats, such as popcorn, which just tasted so good. And of course, the van was air conditioned, which was a huge relief from the heat and humidity of the island. And at this time, they were doing filming for Kong Skull Island. We didn't see active filming, but they were filming during that period of time. So we saw props and stuff that were sometimes covered up, sometimes not, around our tour. So our delightful tour guide took us to our very first stop, and that was the scenic overlook where you see the landing pad for the helicopter in Jurassic World. This is where Claire boards the helicopter. This is where Hoskins looks out when the pteranodons and dimorphodons are attacking Main Street. The set had been torn down by this point, but this was the overlook where that scene was filmed and where Hoskins was looking out over the lagoon at the damage that was occurring. And very close by to that was the Indominus Rex paddock. I was ecstatic to see this. I was really, really excited about it. And if you do the VIP premiere tour, you can actually get off the van and explore the paddock, which was really fun. Now at this time, they had made the decision to maintain the Indominus Rex paddock. Initially, it was just a movie set. They didn't intend on keeping it long term. But I guess given the success of Jurassic World and the popularity of the Indominus Rex, they decided to go ahead and keep it. And you can see that they were doing quite a bit of repairs because it had deteriorated quite a bit. It's since been fixed. It doesn't look like this anymore. But at that time that we visited, that's what it was like. Only 2 walls of the paddock were built, not all 4 walls. It was just 2. And the regular tours, they're able to drive inside and kind of make a loop, but they don't get to get out of the van and explore like you do if you're on the premier movie sites tour. And once you go in, you can see that the paddock is basically just a little bit of a road that kind of goes back a little bit, and then lots of trees and shrubbery. Love the sound of all those birds.
Mm-hmm. And then the engine, but it's just a lot better to leave the car going. It's a lot of setup on that thing.
The observation deck is particularly cool to check out because it looks so much like it does in the film. Just with the light coming in from the windows and seeing all the greenery out there. I mean, it looks exactly the same. And it's just really a treat to be able to go in there and scope things out. And, you know, just really, really cool. There's a lot of stuff on the walls, stills from the film that you can see. And they give you, you know, all the time that you want to just kind of explore and to take a look around. So right here, you can see the little mounts in the floor where you would attach the movie cameras. That's what those were. And, you know, more stuff that was adorning the walls. So this was really a treat and, you know, really helped to remind you of what scenes were filmed in there. You could also look down and wave at the other tours that were driving into the paddock, just kind of wave at them. And that was a lot of fun.
Oh, and it has like its own app for you. It's in a special app just for the wind, so.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And of course, my husband and I couldn't pass up the opportunity to reenact the Claire and Masrani moment from Jurassic World. And I couldn't help but recreate the Claire poster from Jurassic World marketing. And someone then photoshopped my picture that I had posted on Twitter at the time by throwing the Indominus Rex in there. And I just thought that was hilarious. And yeah, it's fun. I love that.
Ferns. They're usually a dark green or a very light green. You might have picked actually the one place, but they're not.
The Indominus Rex. Yeah, I saw them. Yeah, it's fun.
A Ford. That's a cute little vehicle.
Sleeping grass.
They always point it out. They're so cool.
Touch it and it closes up.
There's actually, so you know the movie Avatar?
On our way out of the Indominus Rex paddock, we came across this little stream, and this is where the Indominus Rex basically attacks and kills all of the ACU. I think you also glimpse this in a moment in Fallen Kingdom when Owen is tracking Velociraptor Blue. We then headed over to the area where Owen has his bungalow in Jurassic World, and Claire drives up to talk to him. And this is a really pretty, really scenic area as well, just kind of overlooking the water and, you know, towards the mountains and the clouds, and the whole thing was just really beautiful. We then headed up towards the bunker that is still there, one of the bunkers that's on Kualoa that the military had installed. And that's where you see this tour vehicle that was used in Jurassic World, of course, when all the Gallimimus are running alongside the vehicle. So really neat to see. You can actually step up and look inside it, and it's really cool. It really fit the scene, and, you know, really looks like something that you could use in that sort of scenario, and if you did have a Jurassic World to visit. More posters grace the walls here. There's the actual gyrosphere sign from the film. And then that took us to, of course, what may be the most famous aspect of Kualoa Ranch, and that is the big gyrosphere valley that we first see in Jurassic Park with all the Gallimimus, the T-Rex attacking the Gallimimus, and Alan, Lex, and Tim being very careful not to get spotted. And just seeing the tree in the sign, that really hit home for me. It was really cool seeing all of this. And at the time, I had this little Terra bibatat Parasaurolophus dinosaur that I brought with me and was just taking photos of here and there. I think the hashtag on Twitter was Pebbles' Travels. Pebbles was the Parasaurolophus. This was a track, a Godzilla track from the Godzilla film that was still there imprinted in the ground. And nearby is the gyrosphere station that we see prominently in Jurassic World. And it was really neat seeing it so intact. I was really surprised at how intact it was. Definitely seems quite permanent of a structure in really good condition. So it was really neat being able to climb up there and just kind of walk around and let people know to enjoy the ride. And that basically concluded our visit of Kualoa. I think if you go now, you can actually see the little bunker that Claire and Franklin escaped from when they're escaping the baryonyx. So something new that you can see if you go to visit Kualoa now. Of course, we had a beautiful time in Oahu. We stayed at the Royal Hawaiian, went to Pearl Harbor, and climbed Diamond Head, which was really tiring, but lots of fun and definitely worth the vistas that you're rewarded with once you get to the very top. But we weren't done with Jurassic for Oahu. We then headed over to the convention center, which also served as the monorail station in Jurassic World. So we got to go in there. You see it multiple times throughout the film. You see Gray going up the escalator in that one scene. And then we headed over to Kauai, the garden aisle, where I had plenty of Jurassic Park, Jurassic World filming locations on tap that I got to drag my husband around to. I know he was thrilled about that. But it was fun. We didn't waste any time. As soon as we got there, we hit the ground running and we went to visit the town of Kapa'a, which is the location where the scene in which Nedry meets with Dodgson. So that was a really neat thing to see. It was filmed here where you have this paved sort of area up against this wall. There's actually this little food truck stand that looks somewhat similar to what you do see in Jurassic Park. So you still have all the trees and everything there in the background of that scene. It's next to the ocean. Of course, the scene is supposed to be taking place in Costa Rica, but it was filmed in Kauai. The first 4 Jurassic films each had elements that were filmed in Kauai, but the very first Jurassic Park is the one that had a lot of stuff that was actually filmed there. Limahuli Garden and Preserve, which is a tropical botanical garden, served as the filming location for the Jurassic Park Velociraptor paddock. We see that multiple times throughout Jurassic Park, including the very first opening scene. That was all filmed right here. Of course, the structure was temporary, so that's gone. There's no paddock, there's no raptors, but you can visit the site where it was filmed. And it's really cool to see because the mountains and everything around it line up, the rocks and everything still line up as you see them in the film. Not far from the gardens is a really pretty little beach, Ka'a Beach, and then the beginning of the trail for the Nepali Coast hiking trail, which is a pretty perilous hike. We did the first leg of it, the first section, which basically gets you to this little cliff area where you can see the famous Nepali Coast Mountains, which you do see at the beginning of The Lost World, and then also in Jurassic World as the ferry is headed to the island. One of our most adventurous days was had kayaking the Wailua River, which takes hours and hours to do. It's a workout for your body, but it's a lot of fun. You get to go see waterfalls. You get to see some really cool stuff. There's a little moment there from Raiders of the Lost Ark that you might remember from the beginning of the film that you do get to see. The Wailua River was used in Jurassic Park 3. You see it when our heroes are aboard the boat. It's also used in Jurassic World as a Cretaceous cruise. This little beach here is extremely difficult to get to. We tried getting over there part of the way, but there's tons of boulders and stuff you have to jump over in order to get down to the beach. And you probably don't want to swim there because it looked like there was a pretty intense riptide at the time that we went there. So, but it's still really pretty to see. And this beach is important because this is also from Jurassic Park 3. You see it at the very end of the film where our heroes are rescued from Isla Sorna. And this is where the helicopter comes and picks up Alan and the Kirbys and reunites them with Billy. So during the production of Jurassic Park, Hurricane Iniki hit the island in 1992 and really wreaked havoc on the island and impacted the production of Jurassic Park. And one of the things that occurred as a result of the hurricane was lots of chickens were displaced and made it out into the wild and really helped to populate the island with tons of chickens. They're really all over the place on Kauai. So back on the other side of the island, you can go to Waimea Canyon, which you have to drive a bit of ways to get to it. This isn't per se a filming location for Jurassic Park, but you do see the canyon in the background of the scene in which Tim is being electrocuted by the fence. You can't access that exact location because it is on private property, but you can see the canyon from other areas, and it's really pretty. And you can see the red dirt that makes up the mountains and largely makes up the island of Kauai. A lot of red dirt all over the place. You'll get it on your shoes for sure. And it does take you to a lookout where you can see a stunning view of the Kauai Valley, which is part of the Nepali coast and is said to be the rainiest place in the world. On the south side of the island, not far from the city of Lihue, we have more places from the film. So right here, this is the mountain that you see in the background when Dr. Ian Malcolm and Eddie Carr and Nick Van Owen are arriving by boat to Isla Sorna. And interestingly, right next to this location is the East Dock, or the long dock that you see in Jurassic Park with the waves crashing against it, which was real footage of Hurricane Iniki hitting the dock. And on the opposite side, you can see the hotel where cast and crew of Jurassic Park stayed and also hunkered down when the hurricane hit. This mountain, you can actually see in the background of the Lost World Jurassic Park when the Mobile Command Center is making its way across Isla Sorna. You do see these mountains, this exact mountain range in the background at one point. And one of the last things we did on our visit to Kauai is a Kualoa zipline. Now, we didn't intend this as a Jurassic World filming location, but it turned out that it was a Jurassic World filming location, as we were informed by our tour guides on the zipline adventure. You actually see this area in Jurassic World when Claire is driving her Mercedes and talking to her sister Karen, and then later in the film when Claire is driving the veterinary vehicle with Zach and Gray in the back, and they're trying to escape the raptors. I think Owen goes by in his motorcycle at one point. That was all done here on the property at Kualoa Zipline. And here I go off into another adventure. And this is Jurassic Kahili Ranch, which we passed almost every day on our drives across the island. And this was one of the most iconic moments in Jurassic Park. This is where you see the Brachiosaurus for the very first time. We see it in Jurassic World as well, where the Apatosauruses have been all mutilated by the Indominus Rex. So this is a privately owned ranch. There's no tours or anything, but you can definitely see the exact spots from the films in Jurassic Park when the Jeeps are approaching the Brachiosaurus, and in Jurassic World where the Mercedes-Benz is approaching the dying Apatosaurus with Owen and Claire. So you can definitely visualize it when you stand before this really magnificent ranch. This here is also a private property. This is where the visitor center was constructed in Jurassic Park. It's no longer there, but if you take a little peek over the fence, you can kind of see the palm tree lined road that you see in Jurassic Park in front of the visitor center. So you're not going to see a ton here, but you get a little glimpse at least of a filming location from Jurassic Park. And that concluded our Jurassic World tour on the islands of Oahu and Kauai in Hawaii. And I absolutely recommend it if you're a Jurassic Park, Jurassic World fan. This is a pilgrimage of sorts, going to these filming locations and tracking them down. I absolutely loved it. It was one of the times of my life. And I hope to kind of do it again someday, even if I don't see the exact same location. There's other things that I can always look for next time, since I didn't get to see absolutely everything. But definitely highly recommend it. If you're thinking about doing this, do it. Being in Hawaii is amazing, but putting a little bit of a Jurassic spin on it is even better. Absolutely even better. I also watched Jurassic Park while I was in Kauai, and that was especially fun to watch it there where so much of the film was made. But if you're thinking of doing one of these trips and you have questions, feel free to get in touch. You can contact me on social media or leave comments here, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. But this was something that was done 5 years ago now, and I really need to get back to Hawaii. It's like no place on earth. It's beautiful, it's relaxing, and super, super enjoyable. It's really hard to leave when that time comes. As always, guys, I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this visit to Jurassic World. Let me know what your favorite location was that I visited in the comments. Don't forget to stomp on the like button and subscribe to the channel. Be sure you're following me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And be sure you subscribe to the Collect Jurassic World podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, guys, I'll catch you in the next video. Aloha.